In our previous session, we have seen how to pass data into the child component. Now, let's see in this video, let's see how to pass data from child component onto the parent component. That is, for example, we have a requirement such case that if I click on any event, we have all these sessions displayed over here, right? And as part of all these sessions, we are providing a link over here. By clicking on this link, we can create a new session. Okay, and that session which we have created using this add session has to be included as part of these sessions for this event, and it has to be specific to particular event. The created session should not bind with other events. So let's see how we can do this. Okay, let's switch to Visual Studio Code. So here inside create hyphen session dot component dot ts, we have create session component class over here. Okay, and here what we are going to do now is let's create output parameter for our parent component to bind to. Okay, let's create output parameter. Okay, save new session. This will be equal to new event emitter. Okay, so here we use this output property to emit a message back to the parent component. When user clicks save, and save new session property is going to be an event emitter. Okay. So in this case, we have to import event emitter. Here you can see event emitter. This is not from protractor. Okay. We have to import as part of Angular slash core. So along with output here, event emitter. Okay. So we are importing output as well as event emitter from Angular slash core. So what is happening over here is we are creating an output parameter for our parent component to bind to. Okay. This is the output parameter which we are creating. So this output parameter, that is the output property will emit message back to the parent component when user clicks on save. Okay. And save new session property is going to be an event emitter in this case. Okay. So what is the next step? Next step, what we have to do is let's use save new session emitter to emit an event. Okay. This save new session, let's use it to emit an event. So let's scroll down over here. So instead of console.log of session, let's get rid of this and we'll use this dot save new session dot emit. It's going to emit a session. So now we have an output parameter to bind to, right? So now we have an output parameter to bind to. Let us go and bind to event details page, because this is our child component. If you observe, create session dot component dot ts is our child component, and here we are emitting this property, that is save new session. So once we are emitting this property using this at the rate output from here, we have to catch this, right? So where we are sending this, actually the save new session, whatever we are emitting from here, we are going to emit to the parent component, right? So let's bind it to the parent component. What is a parent component in this case? Parent component in this case is event details component. So if you observe our application, you can clearly understand. I'll just open the application. Here you can see this is an event, right? These are all the events displayed on our all events page. So on click of this event, what will happen? It will go to details page, event details page. So event details component is our parent component. Okay, and whatever the sessions we are creating is a child component. So as part of sessions, if you are clicking on this link and adding a session, so we have to emit that from child component to the parent component using at the rate output. That's what we are going to do here. Okay, so let's switch to Visual Studio Code. Now what is the next step? So we are emitting from here, that is from the child component. we have an output parameter to bind to now. So okay, let's go and bind to inside our event details component. Okay, so inside event details component.html, here if you observe, we are going to bind to save new session event, and when that is fired, we are going to call save new session and pass in the event that is emitted. So that event passed along is our session object. Okay, so what we are going to do over here, as part of create hyphen session, here this is the toggle switch mechanism which we are using. Okay, here we are going to use save new session. Okay, this will be equal to save new session of dollar event. Okay. So what is happening over here? We are going to bind to the save new session event, and when that is fired, we are going to call save new session. Okay, and pass in that event that is emitted, so that the event passed along is our session object. Whatever the event passed along is our session object in this case. Okay, we are internally again calling save new session over here. Okay, we are going to bind to the save new session, and when that is fired, what we are going to do, we are going to call save new session method and pass in event that is emitted, so that the event that is passed along is our session object. Okay, so these are the changes which we have to do as part of event details.component.html. Now what next? Next step is we'll pass in session which will confirm inside our session model, which confronts to the iSession model. Okay. So what we are going to do inside our event details component.ts, event details component.ts, here what we are going to do is we will create a new method over here. Okay. New method over here. We have this add session method over here. Along with this, we'll create a new method. We will pass in session over here. Okay, let's create new method that is save new session method. Okay, and as part of this method, we will pass in session which will conform to the iSession model. Okay, we'll pass in session that conforms to iSession model. Previously, if you remember, we have created this iSession model, right? If you observe event.model.ts here inside the shared folder, I'll just show you. Here we have this interface created, iSession interface. So whatever the event or the whatever the session we are passing as part of save new session has to follow this model. What is the model? ID, name, presenter, duration, level, abstract, and voters. This is the skeleton which we had created previously. That is using this iSession interface. The same model, we are going to confront this with the session. Okay. So we have to assign new session ID on this event. As under create new session, we are assigning ID to undefined. If you remember, previously under create new session, okay, under create session component.ts, if you remember, here you can see that ID is undefined, right? But in this case, what happens whenever we are creating a new session, whenever we are saving a new session, a new ID has to be generated, right? And if it is undefined, how we can handle it? We can't understand that this is a new event. We have to assign a new ID for this, right? So to do that, what we are going to do is, let's get max session ID on the sessions of event and increment and assign it to the new session ID, right? That's what we can do, right? We can get the maximum sessions, that is maximum session IDs present in that event, and we'll increment by one. So how we can do that, we will see now. Okay, as part of this method, what we are going to do, this confronts to the I session. So here you can see, as part of this method, here we need to import this I session from models. Okay, let's import I session. We have to import that I session as part of this model. Now Here what we are going to do is we are going to find maximum session IDs as part of that event. So how we can do that? Okay, we have to first what we have to do is we have to find the count of sessions as part of that event. Okay, and we have to find number of sessions as part of this that event, and then based on number of sessions for that event we have to increment by one. So how we can do it? For example, we can do it by using const next id equals math dot max dot apply. Okay, here we have to pass null comma this dot event dot session, and here we have to map this to s such that s dot id. Okay, and what we have to do next is we have to increment by one, that is session dot id equals next id plus one. Okay, this is how we are finding the maximum number of sessions as part of that event, and we are incrementing it by one. Okay, we are incrementing it by one. Okay, so next what we have to do, this dot event dot sessions dot push, we have to push this to the sessions. What we have to push, whatever the session we got over here as part of say new session, that session we are pushing to sessions property. Okay, this sessions, if you observe, is of type I session array. Okay, so it will be, this session will be, this new session will be passed to this I sessions array which is inside this sessions. Okay, and here this dot event service dot, we have to create a method over here to update an event. Okay, update event, and here we have to pass this dot event. Okay, so this update event we have to create a new method inside our event service. So once we have done this, what next we have to do? If you remember, the add mode in this case should become false. Why? We'll toggle back this to false since we are already done adding, right? So we are already done adding a session. So what we have to do? We have to make this to false. This toggle, this dot add mode equals false. If you are watching this video newly, then you have to just follow the previous lectures which are provided in the playlist, so that you will understand what is the toggle which we have provided over here, that is add mode. Okay, now if you observe here, as part of this update event we have to create a new method inside our event service to update this event. Okay, so to update this event such that inside our application, whenever we are creating a new session by clicking on this add session link, that session has to be added as part of this event, means the new session should come over here. Okay, and even if you go back to the event all events page and coming back to this particular event, that session has to be displayed over here. That is a requirement. Okay, let's see how we can do that in our next video. For now we have implemented using @output parameter. Okay, now in the next video let's see how we can implement this update event method. Okay, thank you so much for watching this video, guys. Please like, comment and share this video, and kindly subscribe to my channel in order to watch more videos. Click on that bell icon so that you'll start receiving notifications whenever uploading a new video.